I love music. I've loved music my whole life. I'm sure most of you watching this love music too. Maybe a bit more than me, maybe less. But I doubt any of you would have clicked on this video if we didn't have that in common. Now when it comes to music, today I want to talk about The Amazing Spider-Man 2. The Amazing Spider-Man 2 soundtrack is amazing for lots of reasons. I could talk about Kendrick Lamar, Alicia Keys, Pharrell Williams, and The Neighborhood, and how they made these amazing songs.
With bare feet, run through the flames, there's more passion for me. A glass that's the money just so the world can see. Better wounds on me, you're watching me lick them clean.
But today, I actually want to talk about Hans Zimmer, the composer for The Amazing Spider-Man 2 soundtrack.
Loved it.
Now if you don't know Hans Zimmer, he's also the composer for Modern Warfare 2's opening titles, the theme song for The Dark Knight,
He's a silent guardian, a watchful protector, a dark knight.
and Time from Inception. Oh, and I forgot one more. My favourite song from this film. Now if you don't know what that's called, it's the Electro Suite from The Amazing Spider-Man 2. You can thank me with a like, comment and hitting that subscribe button. So let's get into this. Why is Hans Zimmer so important to The Amazing Spider-Man 2 soundtrack? To be clear, this is just my opinions and I'm not really going to talk about any musical terms or technical terms. I might, but I'll try not to. But if you do have any that you want to share, any music theory, please drop it in the comments. Now when I say Hans Zimmer composed The Amazing Spider-Man 2 soundtrack, he didn't do this by himself, alright? It was technically him and the Magnificent Seven. Not the Magnificent Seven. Alright, it was technically him and the Magnificent Six, not to be confused with the Sinister Six, you know, Spider-Man's villains. No, this is a group of artists and composers. Now the Magnificent Six consists of these individuals: Pharrell Williams, Michael Eisinger, Junkie XL, Johnny Marr, Andrew Kosinski, and Steve Mazzaro. Some of you may know a few of those names. I'm assuming Pharrell Williams. And if you don't know the others, Google them.
I want to get that. Isn't it clear we're here again? Before it.
Okay, hang on. I don't want to play. I just want to hear some noise from you guys.
Now the job of any soundtrack is to tell a story, okay? You may think that, alright, this is a soundtrack and it's just some music to go along with the film, but most of the time it's telling the same story as the film just through music. When it comes to Amazing Spider-Man 2, the story is about 4 things in my opinion. Peter and Gwen,
Don't tell me that I look amazing with your big brown doe eyes, okay? I'm really serious about that one.
Peter and his parents,
And I will do it for you. Baby, I'm not
Spider-Man and Electro.
Yes, I remember you. Of course I remember. You have my eyes and ears. What's your name again?
How could you forget me?
Oh, I do. I know it. Don't tell me.
It's Max.
Is it Max?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I didn't recognize you with the... You look different.
And Harry and Spider-Man / Peter.
Nice arm. It's just the wrist. It's just all in the wrist, buddy.
Throughout the film, you hear themes and tunes, melodies that all are meant to be associated with these different characters and how they are entangled with Peter / Spider-Man in different ways. The film starts off with Peter's dad running away, trying to hide his research from the rest of the world, particularly Oscorp, who are after him. I think if you watch the first film, it's continuing the storyline that was shown there, but obviously it's in the past. So we have this track that's kind of a bit of a thriller, a bit of, oh, what's coming, what is happening. It's a bit adventurous. If you listen deeply, it's meant to be associated with research. So at the beginning of this film, when Peter's parents are actually in the middle of a fight with a trained assassin from Oscorp, we assume, we hear the track Cold War, or at least a version of this, and this continues on into the next scene where we're introduced to Spider-Man again.
Not if you thought you could escape.
Get to work.
Say hello to Alexei Sinzevich!
Now you're asking, why is this important? Why do we care about this music? Well, this music, the fact that it transitions from Peter's parents into him, is kind of showing you the connection between whatever research they're doing and the life he's living right now. That's why it's all in one track, in my opinion. The track I'm Spider-Man is playing, it's also featured in Cold War, like I was saying, but we're introduced to him fighting soon-to-be Rhino, and whilst he's fighting Rhino, we also introduced to another character, Jamie Foxx's Electro, also known as Max Dillon.
Spider-Man. Costume gives it away.
Now, we're not just introduced to Max Dillon visually, we're introduced to him sonically. We hear that in the music. We hear the first tones of his theme song, of the Electro theme song, and throughout the film, it actually evolves and continues. So it's nice to see him at this beginning point and hearing how it plays. So you can see right off the bat, we've been connected to Peter, his parents, Spider-Man, and Electro. Now that is a key part of this film, because I would say that the main theme is Spider-Man and Electro and the relationship between these two characters. But there are some other things going on too. Speaking of other things going on, we have Peter's biggest distraction in life, Gwen Stacy. Now I know I said that Electro and Peter's relationship, or Electro and Spider-Man's relationship in the film is probably the biggest theme, but I've always said to myself that this is a romance film. It's a rom-com or a romption, because it's a bit of action, a bit of romance, but Peter and Gwen's relationship is the biggest, and I think the main thread that keeps this film and the last film together. And if you take that out of the film, everything's pointless, really. So I'm not going to stay too long on Gwen and Peter's relationship. I've got some footage that you can watch about it, but just thinking about their main themes. The last film, they broke up because of what happened with her father. Peter basically got her father killed, and her father said, "Yeah, stay away from my daughter. I don't want you around her. If, you got me in this position, I don't want her in a position like this."
People will get hurt. Sometimes people closest to you. So I want you to promise me something, okay? Leave Gwen out of it. Promise me that. Huh?
I'm sorry. I can't.
What do you say?
I can't see you anymore. I can't.
It's really big foreshadowing for what happens in the rest of the film. But we have this initial song when they meet up. I think Peter's trying to break up with her because they started dating again, but she actually breaks up with him. She's like, "No, what is this? I'm not having this bullcrap from you." So yeah, they break up, and the song that's playing throughout is called Ground Rules. It's about them setting the boundaries of their relationship and how they can actually continue to have a relationship here. Actually, I messed that all up. So at the beginning of this film, we have Gwen and Peter meet together initially at the graduation. Skip ahead, and they're actually meant to meet each other at a restaurant with Gwen's family, but Peter kind of flakes. He's outside. He's just a bit wondering. He doesn't want to disappoint her father, who's dead, on his behalf. So he doesn't really do anything there. They break up. Well, she breaks up with him because he says he can't do this. He wants to break up with her, but she ends up doing the breaking up because she's like, "Nah, I'm not having this from you." And then long story short, they get back together again, and the track Ground Rules plays. Now this song is really the main theme for Peter and Gwen's relationship in the film. So you hear it, it's about them setting the boundaries of their relationship and also why they need these boundaries.
If we're gonna be friends, I think we gotta establish some ground rules.
Some ground rules?
Yeah, some ground rules. Like that.
My laugh
That
is
laugh
off the table?
you gotta figure out a more annoying laugh. That's still adorable.
It's not adorable.
Later down the line, Peter and Gwen meet again when Peter finds out that she's moving to England. I think it's for a course or an internship. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's one of those two. So yeah, Gwen's moving to England. Come on, England's the best place in the world. And Peter's like, "Oh, all right, that's nice for you."
The only thing I keep coming back to, Gwen, is...
Stacy? Should I take you upstairs?
Yes. I'm so sorry. I have to be... I'm at my last interview for Oxford right now.
I'm one of the young professors at Harvard, and I've been trying to get her to be a part of my team. And anyway, God save the Queen.
Shortly after, we get another moment with the two, as she is actually in the taxi moving to England. Now Peter interrupts her. He does a little whirring with his webs and writes "I love you" across the bridge. So cringy, so cringy. I'm telling you, this is a romshin. This is not an action adventure film. This is not a rom-com. This is a romshin. But for real, he does that. He gets her attention. They kiss, and we hear the track again.
It's Spider-Man.
I couldn't make it out. I'll tell you what it says. It says, "I love you. Because I love you." And no offense, but you're wrong. You're wrong about us being on different paths. We're not on different paths. You're my path.
But the thing is, if you listen closely to the track, it's a bit peaceful. So clearly to him, Gwen is his peace.
I know there's a million reasons why we shouldn't be together. I know that. But I'm tired of them. We've all got to make a choice. Right? Why choose you?
She's the part of the puzzle of him being Spider-Man, him being Peter Parker, that he kind of needs to feel complete. And there's also some subtle tones of a bit of misery there. So it's a bit of happiness and a bit of misery. And I think if you look back at their whole history so far, it makes sense for the misery to be there. Again, what happened to her father, but then it might be a bit of foreshadowing for what's to come later down in the film. So we're going to park Gwen and Peter's relationship here and go back to some of the other characters that are really important to the storyline. Now that leads me to Electro. Again, his real name is Max Dillon, and he is obsessed with Spider-Man. Like, you might think I'm obsessed with Spider-Man. I'm doing this whole video on it. No, he is obsessed. He thinks Spider-Man is his best friend at this point in the film. After Spider-Man met him during that fight with the Rhino, they are like, in his head, they are best friends.
Those power grids were designed by me.
You designed them? Sure you did. And I'm Spider-Man.
You're no Spider-Man. He's a Leo. You're a Sagittarius. You will Spectrum again. I'm gonna rip your well-groomed head off.
So, I know he has some condition. I do not know what it is. I'll probably do some research and drop it in the comments. But that is what affects him and his storyline. So this film does dive into mental health. It's kind of passively. It's not really overtly, but you can always see it through Electro. And if you look at his whole journey, it's really interesting to see where he started and how it's going. So now this particular scene that I'm talking about with Electro and the music that's playing, again, it's his theme song, but he is going to work. He works at Oscorp because in this universe, everything is about Oscorp. Oscorp is, you know how we got Stark Tower in Spider-Man and in Spider-Man? Now in this scene, he's going to work at Oscorp. That's where he works. He is an electrical engineer, if I'm correct. Now, Oscorp is the big baddie of this whole universe in Amazing Spider-Man. Kind of similar to how, I guess, the Avengers and Iron Man, not really the bad guy, but they are the overlooking force in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Like, Iron Man is involved with pretty much everything that's happened for most of those movies. And now he's dead, but he continues to influence what is happening. It's crazy. Now, digging into Electro's theme a bit more at this point, it has some themes of exploring, but also, again, similar to Gwen and Peter's song, there is misery there. You can hear that it's a cheery song, but it's a cheery, miserable song. So like, you're going through a cheerful life, but that life is actually miserable. And that's kind of what happens with Max Dillon at this point, because he goes to work, it's his birthday even, no one cares, he wants people to care about him, no one cares, he thinks Spider-Man's his best friend, and he ends up having to stay the day at work, and falls into a big canister of electric eels, thus becoming Electro. Well, I mean, first he dies, but we'll get back to that.
System restored. Have a nice day.
God, it's brutal out here.
Again, that track, it also has unfortunate tones to it. Like, you can tell something unfortunate is about to happen, and that's why I'm saying it's a bit cheery, but it's also really sad. Now he dies, but he comes right back to life. Now, if you listen to what happens to the track as he comes back to life, it becomes more electric. Okay, cool, we know he's Electro, but the track comes to life. It changes from this explorative space odyssey and, I guess, unfortunate sound to this, yeah, I got what's going on, I know it, I'm with my stuff, I can deal with this, I'm the man here. The track becomes full, and that really symbolizes his growth from that person that nobody cares about, and he's kind of happy with himself, he thinks he's alright, but he becomes this person that knows what he's about. He becomes this full person, and that is really the journey between him being Max Dillon and him being Electro. When he's Electro, he feels full, he feels full of energy, and now he feels like he's got the power. You know, electricity, power, makes sense. So the version of his theme song that we hear at this point is called Look At Me. And the reason it's called Look At Me, if you watch the video, you watch the film, is he wants the world to see him. He's gone to Times Square in New York, in Manhattan, and he has kind of controlled all of the billboards. He's got everyone's attention. He's putting people in harm's way, but he doesn't really know that, because if you go back to the other point, he hasn't got that mental stability that I think most of the people around him do. He, at this point, is just, and there's another track called Later Down the Line, which Electro at this point has kind of lost control of himself, but he still has all this power, and because of the power that he has now, he wants everyone to see him the same way he would have in the past, and he's able to do that. He controls the billboards, he gets Spider-Man to take it, Spider-Man comes in to fight, and if you listen to the music very carefully, it is going full power. Like, we're seeing the potential of him, not just as a person, and not just as Electro, but you're seeing it get all the way to the top. But then Spider-Man comes, he fights him, and kind of stops it from reaching that peak.
You set me up.
No, I didn't set you up.
You lied to me.
No, I'm trying to help. Let me help you.
Do we have visual on Spider-Man? Does anyone have visual on Spider-Man?
That's enough. Mike?
Yeah.
Big John? Nice work, fellas. The pleasure doing business with you.
So it's a bit sad for Electro, like we didn't really get to see him become the best version of himself. we only get about, I'd say, halfway there. Well, not even halfway at this point, maybe a third of the way there. Now, like Gwen and Peter, we're going to park Electro here and introduce another character, Harry Osborn.
Peter Parker. It's like seeing a ghost. Hey, Harry.
Some would say that Harry's going through a midlife crisis, but really he's only in his 20s, so it can't be midlife, it's early life. This is a 20 crisis. Everyone goes through the 20 crisis. I mean, I'm here right now doing a video about Spider-Man, so yeah. Now, the reason Harry is going through a crisis is because his dad has just died. Now, before his dad died, he told him that there was a genetic disease that they all have in their family. Harry's showing signs of it early, and now Harry is stressed the heck out. His dad had made him paranoid, passed away, and now he needs to find a cure. So he's looking for this cure. He's looking for a cure, and before he gets around to the cure, Peter comes to visit him.
10 years.
It's 8. Chloe. Saw the news, man. I heard about your dad, and I wanted to come and see you. Check.
I'm with some people. I'm in a meeting.
Peter and Harry have not met in such a long time, and this track that plays whilst they meet is called We're Best Friends. At first, when they see each other, I think Harry's a bit hostile, and Peter's like, he wants to be warm and get back close to Harry, but it takes a bit of warming up.
You still blow dry your hair every morning?
You know, one of my manservants holds the hair dryer, but I work the comb. Okay, so at least I'm not completely helpless.
Now, when they do start to click again, you hear some themes from the Spider-Man theme song in this film. And the reason for that is because last time they met, Peter was just Peter. And last time, I'm guessing last time Harry was there, he was still rich, but you know, he had his dad. But now, Peter is Spider-Man, so technically it's not just Peter and Harry reuniting, it's Harry meeting Spider-Man. He just doesn't know it yet.
Around here, man. Giant lizards and spider guys. Whatever, dude. He wears spandex to rescue kittens from trees. Kinda like to think it gives people hope.
For what?
Maybe eventually everything's gonna be alright.
Yeah, I just wish I had time for eventually.
Peter and Harry meet up again, and he figures that Peter takes the pictures for Spider-Man. So he's like, oh, can you show me Spider-Man? I need Spider-Man. I need his blood. I need it. Yeah, so Peter at this point is like, oh no, why are you doing this to me, Harry? Why are you putting me in this position? I do not want to give you my blood. I am worried this might just mess up your whole life. Like, please, just back off. Like, relax, all right? I wish your dad never said any of this stuff to you. But obviously he doesn't say that out loud.
I can't give you my blood. Not right now.
Excuse me?
It's too dangerous. If our blood isn't compatible, you could die.
Your blood can't make me die more.
But it could do something worse.
So if we skip along, we get to hear the track Harry's Sweet, which is when Spider-Man and Harry meet up, and Harry explains to him that he needs his blood to help cure this disease. Spider-Man says no.
Alright, how much?
How much what?
How much do you want? Name it. You want a boat? You want a plane? You want money? How much do you want?
I don't want your money.
Come on, everybody wants my money!
And this track kind of continues on to a later scene where Harry is looking up some projects on Oscorp, because earlier in the office meeting, one of his assistants, Felicia Hardy, actually tells him about some special projects that Oscorp has going on. So he looks those up and he finds all this top secret stuff. Pretty much they're going to create more Spider-Man villains, but you know, they're not always going to tell you that straight up. But that's what he finds, and the song continues there. But this time when we hear this song, it goes into some of the themes that we heard earlier with Peter's parents, specifically his dad, and the research that was happening. So you can tell that it's again a science theme, and if you look at it deeper, it might not even just be the science theme that you're hearing here. What you're hearing really is that the work that Peter's dad did is the work that Harry's looking at. That's what the connection really is.
Approved by Harry Osborn.
Accessing Ravencroft Archive. Subject, Dylan Max.
And then I'm gonna kill the light, so everyone in this city is gonna know how it feels to live in my world. A world without power. A
Now the fun thing is, whilst this is happening, we have Peter actually looking up for information about his dad. He wants to know what happened to him because it's not really a clear story. Now he looks up, he finds the research, he goes to his Aunt May and is like, I need to know what happened. I need to know what was happening. Without going into all the detail, he goes to the subway where his dad always went and he puts in a coin that came from a calculator. I don't really understand this, but let's just go with it. Let's just go with the flow. So he finds out what happened to his dad and the research that was happening and kind of how it relates to, I guess, Harry, which is why the song that's playing is really important, both for that Harry scene and this scene. But yeah, the thing about the track that plays now is that you get the sense of success. Like, Peter's been going through his whole life wondering, what happened to my parents, and now he's finally figured it out. So not just the success of, and the thing is, it's not just the success of finding out what happened to his parents, but within what happened, the video that his dad left for him is telling about the success of him, Peter Parker, and his DNA and how he is Spider-Man.
The human DNA that I implanted in the spiders was my own. Which means that without me, without my bloodline, Oscorp can never replicate or continue my experiments.
It's his dad's success and his success. His success of finding out what's happened, his success as Spider-Man, and his dad's success of experimenting with radioactive spiders. So it's triple success right here, and I'm here for it, you know. Again, back to Harry. He is running out of time. He thinks he's about to drop down dead like his father, but right now he is going through the project files. He's seen something to do with Electro and how Max Dillon has been locked up somewhere else, I think Ravencroft. So he runs over there, he finds Electro, he's like, yo, I need you, you're the only one that can help me kill Spider-Man. He's like, Electro's like, you need me? Because, you know, he has that obsessive, I don't want to say he's got obsessive compulsive disorder, but it seems like he's got OCD, so we'll go with that. We'll say Electro might have OCD. So Electro feels validated by the fact that Harry says he needs him. Someone really needs him, and this time it's not Spider-Man. Yes, it's to kill Spider-Man, who I guess Electro hates at this point, but it's to do, for him, that's a big thing, that someone needs him. All his life he's been doing stuff and no one's really given him that validation, and he's getting it from Harry. So that's all the motivation he needed to tap into his energy and break out of his cage.
And now you want it back. You just want to take back what's yours.
Oh.
It is all the power in the city, Max, and it's right at your fingertips. And then once you shut down the grid, Spider-Man will come to you, and I want you to make it bleed.
So clearly in this film, Harry is a big manipulator. He's able to manipulate Electro and use him to fight Spider-Man. So again, if you hear the music, at this point, we get to hear Electro's theme again, and it kicks up, and you can see, as I was saying, he got to tap into his energy, but the potential of him has started to increase. It's gotten higher than it was the last time we saw him fight Spider-Man. He's now becoming that full-powered Electro. So let's say at this point he's 50%, 75% there.
Give me one reason why I should trust you.
Because I need you.
You need me.
I need you. You are my only chance that I have at surviving.
You need me.
Yes. I need you. Please. I know what it's like to be thrown away. Please, Max. I need you. I need
you. Now when it plays this time, it's called My Enemy, because Spider-Man isn't just Harry's enemy at this point, he is also Electro's enemy. Because A, Spider-Man didn't give him his blood, B, Electro and Spider-Man didn't help him out. He didn't let the world see him. He stopped him. He put his spark down. He hosed that down.
That's enough.
So now Harry's got Electro with him, and they go together back into Oscorp, because Harry's been kicked out at this point. Even though his father was the owner of Oscorp, or CEO, whatever you want to call it, he has been kicked out of his own company. Yeah, I know. Again, people manipulating him, and that's why he now becomes the biggest manipulator. Yeah, so Harry breaks into Oscorp and gets this spider serum. He injects it in himself, and it doesn't work out for him. He becomes this goblin, Green Goblin really, but I think in this film they just call him Goblin. At this point, we hear the song Sum Total. I think it played earlier when he was in some of the business meetings, but it's got this sinister tone to it, and it's really showing that Harry, although he thinks he's doing what is going to help him, and obviously visually you can see it's not working out for him, but the music also helps to show that this is not going the way you think, and it just becomes evil. And yeah, he might have been going through this darkness because of the disease, but now the serum has just made that darkness take over him and consume him completely. So it's just going to become darker and more evil, and you kind of see what comes after this. It's not the best thing ever. And just to add to that, even with Harry, he already felt hopeless, but now he has nothing to lose because he's gone through hell to find a way to fix this disease, and he's just ended up in the worst condition ever. So at this point, he's like, Spider-Man, I hate this man. This man should not live. I don't care. He doesn't even know who Spider-Man is, but he just hates him. And yeah, I mean, Electro's kind of in a similar place, but he is more mentally unstable, whereas Harry, I think, has just gone through some traumatic stuff. So he's not in his best frame of mind either. But together, they make this sinister duo, man. I don't like it. So now I'm going to quickly summarize these last parts of the film, because everything comes together more or less. We've got the part of Peter's parents that's kind of wrapped up, but now we've got Gwen, we've got Peter, we've got Spider-Man, and we've got Electro. So Electro's song comes on again, but this time it's called Still Crazy, and it's to show that even though he's been put in that mental institution called Ravencroft and was locked up for a bit, he is still not stable. He is fueling up with the same energy that he had last time when he was taking over Times Square and fighting Spider-Man. Even at this point, we don't get to hear the full potential because Spider-Man cuts in and his theme plays to show that he's not going to let Electro win. So Electro's theme breaks up, but we start to continue again, and this time it goes all out. We have the full track playing. I'm going to play it here. You'll hear how amazing it is. We finish our fight with Electro, and it doesn't go exactly where we want it to because Harry shows up, he interferes. Peter and Gwen were gonna sort out everything else, but no, Harry comes in, we hear his theme, and again it's the same track from before, so we get Sum Total, but again more sinister. This time I think it's called I'm Goblin, and it's just this dark intro to the character. So Harry swoops in and he sees Spider-Man and he sees Gwen, and he looks back at them again and again, and he actually puts two things together. He realizes that if these two are always here together, then must be together, right? So he figures out that Peter is Spider-Man. He's like, so you're the one that didn't give me your DNA. My best friend did not give me his DNA to save my life. And that's a crazy thing. Like, it makes sense. Like, why would your best friend not do that for you? So at this point, he's already hopeless. He has nothing to lose, and now he knows his best friend pretty much betrayed him. Yeah, so Harry's like, F this, my best friend betrayed me, I haven't got anything to lose, I'm gonna kill the person that he cares about the most, I'm gonna take Gwen. So he picks up Gwen, and Spider-Man's fighting Goblin for a bit. There's a point where he's about to drop Gwen through this glass, and Peter's like, or Spider-Man's like, let her go, and that's when this track called Let Her Go plays. And the track that's actually playing is Gwen and Peter's song. It's not Spider-Man's song, it's not Goblin's song, it's Gwen and Peter's song. So when I said earlier that the tones in that track, they give you this happiness, like it's happy because it's their moment, some peacefulness there. There's always peacefulness when it's Peter and Gwen, but at this moment you hear a bit more if you listen to it, and I said there's a bit of misery there. The misery is starting to kick in.
Harry threw down!
Harry!
Harry is dead!
Harry! This is between you and me! You wanna fight? Fight me! Let her go!
Okay.
No!
But luckily, Peter catches her. So, you know, all things are Gucci, right? Well, the things, I don't think things are actually Gucci, because if you look at this song even more, yeah, it's about the peacefulness between Peter and Gwen, but to another extent, it's actually about Peter needing to let her go, because this whole film, if you look at this whole film, he has been struggling to let go of things. He's been struggling to let go of what happened to his parents, struggling to let go about what happened to Gwen's father, and actually as a result of that, struggling to let go of Gwen. And yeah, okay, Gwen's been struggling to let go of Peter as well, but he's been struggling to let her go and move on, continuing his life as Spider-Man. And it's really difficult for him. That's been the main problem with this film, and that's why I say Gwen and Peter, without them, without their relationship, this film wouldn't be a film, it would just be some action scenes. And yeah, eventually Gwen falls to her death. So this track that we heard before, there's a reason we kept hearing it, because it's not about the peacefulness. It's not actually just about the peacefulness between Gwen and Peter and why they always want to be together. It's about the struggles of their whole relationship. And there's always good times and bad times within that same track, and that's how the relationship has been, and that's kind of how it ends. The rest of the film at this point, we have some other songs that come back in. We actually hear Gwen and Peter's song again when it comes to the final act, already in the final act, when it comes to the funeral scene, yeah, where Peter's mourning, and we hear that for a bit. So Peter kind of stopped being Spider-Man for a bit, and we hear that there's Rhino on the loose. So yeah, Rhino, I said earlier, he wasn't really Rhino, but now he's Rhino. Spider-Man comes out to stop him, and actually it's a kid, and at first you hear this track called You're That Spider Guy. And again, it's that Spider-Man theme song in there, but it turns into another song. I think another version of the Cold War song that we heard at the beginning of the film, and this one is called No Place Like Home. Interesting title, because the new Spider-Man film is called No Way Home. So I'm not saying it confirms anything, but you know.
Just one guy, just one Spider-Man, or woman, we don't know.
So I guess going back to my original point about this film and the soundtrack for it, the themes in this, like I said, we've got Peter and Gwen, we've got Harry and Spider-Man, we've got Electro and Spider-Man, and we've got Peter and his parents. Now they've all been combining and intersecting at different points in the film. At the end, we have a wrap up with pretty much just Spider-Man and Spider-Man being himself. So I think we've got to the point where the music that is used here is so important, because without it, we would have just had Spider-Man themes throughout. And sure, whatever, that's cool and nice. We like the music's great. But Hans Zimmer, what he did here with all these tracks, he was able to tell a story and make sure that you understand as the viewer and listener that Peter Parker, Spider-Man here, he cannot let anything go really. Everything that is going on in his life, he has some strong connection to. Like even with Electro, if you watch the film again, you'll see he doesn't want to fight Electro. He fights him because he has to. He wants to help Electro. He even struggles to let go of the fact that Electro is someone that he helped, that he thinks can become a better person. And I think if he had a better attitude to everything in this film, his relationship, if he had a better attitude to dealing with that, then you'd have heard the songs change a lot more, but they stay the same because he doesn't change his attitude to it. Same with Electro. If Electro was able to become a better person, like, yeah, at the end he reaches his full potential, we hear that track, but if he was able to become a better person and maybe get past his obsessions and stuff, then we'd have heard that track go somewhere completely different, but instead it just goes to a stronger version of where it originally is. We get the weak Max Dillon, and then we get the powerful Electro. We don't get anything that's actually more hopeful. We just get a lot of power. And then with Harry and his music, we see that he is just full of darkness, and his song never goes anywhere hopeful. We have the hopeful bit with him and Peter at the beginning, and the hope all comes from Spider-Man, and that's, I guess, foreshadowing the fact that Harry is going to need Spider-Man's blood down the line. But Harry on his own, he never gets that, so because he never gets that, it doesn't really go in a positive direction for him. And last but not least, Peter's parents. Now that's probably the one thing he was able to let go of. He was able to let go, but only after he found what he needed. Now if he was able to do the same with Gwen, then maybe our fate would have been different. And let's not forget, we got one more thing here. We got the other soundtrack songs. We got the Alicia Keys music, and I'm just gonna let it ride out of this, but all I have to say right now is that Hans Zimmer, by far, he did an amazing job, and I hope that he is involved in future Marvel projects. In fact, I would recommend you watch any film that says it's been composed by Hans Zimmer, because if you don't like the film for the story, you're going to love it for the music. And by loving it for the music, you're going to love the film as a whole. That's just one thing that happened to me. If you ever read a book and you listen to music whilst reading that book, and that music is always associated with that book, you're going to love that book because you love that music. So yeah, association is great, and Hans Zimmer did an amazing job with The Magnificent Six. But yeah, whilst this video ends, make sure you hit like, drop a comment, subscribe. This is the first video of this kind. I'm pretty sure I'll do more of these. Got some plans there. So yeah, show your support, and I'm gonna let this ride out with some Alicia Keys and Kendrick Lamar.